and get started. We are so excited to be hosting this session today. My name is Alyssa, and I'm a recruiter here at HubSpot. I specifically recruit for non-tech internships, and I've been here for about 3 years. I am super excited to announce our speaker today. You guys are in for a treat. If you are not familiar with what the topic of this conversation is, the topic is all about the importance of getting a mentor and what to do when you have one. So I want to kick it off by introducing our speaker, Dr. V. Boykin, HubSpot's own. I want to do a little bit of an intro for Dr. V. So Dr. V returned to school in 2017. She obtained her BS in Marketing Management, MS in Management and Leadership, Masters of Business Administration, and Doctor of Business Administration Organizational Leadership. Some might see 4 degrees as excessive, but life as a Black woman with a felony has proven otherwise. 20 years ago, finding employment with that background seemed impossible. All income was welcome, and Dr. V did everything from stripping to picking up dog waste to make ends meet. You got to do what you got to do, right? Inspired by her personal, professional, and educational experiences, Dr. V is now an established keynote speaker, a leader in the organizational leadership and equity space. And her mission is to rewrite the narrative for marginalized groups in the workplace through innovative and accessible programming, enlightening one unaware mind at a time. To add, Dr. V has just recently released her first book, Fix Your Face and Watch Your Tone. Women know what's needed, and we do. Now, this is a product of that very mission as she tackles the equity challenges marginalized communities face in both personal and professional settings. With the blend of life anecdotes and extensive research, Dr. V offers practical solutions for women and allies striving for career success and personal fulfillment. I want to welcome my mentor, our speaker for today, Dr. V. Boykin. Welcome.
What a mouthful. Thank you so much for that. I know a lot of y'all are checking your bias right now after that intro, but let's get into it and welcome. So first up, I know that previous picture looks really glossy, really good. But the truth of the matter is I did go back to school in 2017. I did get those degrees. I do lead with those degrees when I introduce myself because we always have to over-credential ourselves. To tell the truth, right? So there it is. Those are my credentials. As great as all of this looks, I am a former stripper and I do have a felony record. And I say that because for many of us, our backgrounds are sorted and our family backgrounds may not be as traditional, but you still have value, you still have worth, and you still can have success. And I think that's important to say. So we are going to talk about mentorship, why it matters, what it does, who should be your mentor, how to find one. And once you found someone you want to be your mentor, how to ask someone to be your mentor. I hope that sounds good to everyone because this is important. Why does mentorship matter? I'd love to hear it as we go along. Throw it in the chat, right? Why do you think mentorship matters? And since you're here, I'm going to tell you why. Post-MBA, women are 56% more likely to get a job if they have a mentor. And men are 93% more likely to get a job. So for all of the people that were asking those questions about getting a job in the last keynote session, getting a mentor is literally going to make it almost twice as easy to do that. That's extremely important. Mentorship increases your ability to get a job. Now, this is important because mentorship contributes to work-life balance. Work-life balance optimizes corporate profitability. So literally you getting a mentor makes you more profitable to the company that you get a job with because you have a mentor. These things go together. You are more profitable to the company if you have a mentor because they will help you have better work-life balance. You're also more likely to be satisfied in your job if you have a mentor because you will have more well-being, which means you will perform better. You're more profitable and you perform better and you're less likely to attrit. Attrition is 2 to 3 times the cost to replace that employee, sometimes more. So companies want you to have well-being. They want you to have a mentor. They want you to have work-life balance because you're more effective as an employee. Okay. Any women with us today? 95% of women in my study were told to be more and less assertive, which is impossible. You literally can't do it. So how do you navigate when to be more, when to be less, and how to be both at the same time? It's like, who did that, right? That's what your mentor is going to help you do. And if you're not a woman, but you're part of the global majority, which is also known as minority communities, which is also known as BIPOC, which is also known as first gen, if you are part of a marginalized community, you are more likely to get similar messaging. So it's not just women. It's everyone included in this group that is joining us here today. You need to have a mentor. For all the men out there, men who show empathy, sadness, modesty, vulnerability, you're facing backlash. Superman doesn't take a break. So when he gets an extra few minutes, he's supposed to open up that laptop. So if you're a man and identify as a man, you're almost expected to be emotionless in the workplace, which we know with the additional pressures that we have as first gens, as BIPOC, as part of marginalized communities, the pressure is intense. And it's not just the pressure at work, it's all the pressure we're bringing in from home. How do you sift that? How do you sort that? And how do you maintain yourself when you're going to be judged more harshly just for being human? You know where I'm going with this. You get a mentor. So let's talk about what mentors can actually do for you. They help you prep for difficult situations. And I cannot stress enough how many difficult situations you're going to face. And some of it's not even intentional, right? If a situation is new to you, it might just be difficult. If it's not the conversation you're having around the dinner table because you're the first one to do it, you might not have that same support. How do you get ready for what you're going to encounter? And sometimes it's as simple as, how do I sign off on an email? Is it best wishes, wish you well, warmest regards, thank you, nothing? Like those little things all stack up. And you need guidance to navigate them. Because when a little thing isn't resolved, it becomes a big thing. And when big things become bigger things, you're less profitable, you're less productive, which means you have less well-being and less work-life balance, because that email signature is now what you're thinking about in the middle of the night, which isn't fun. The biggest benefit that I have found for me when I work with my mentor, who happens to be Dan Tyre, he's a former HubSpotter, incredible person, has Tyre Mentorship Foundation and Tyre Angel, but he helps me role play. Because we all know, we sit back and like, if they said that to me, I'm going to say, and then they say it to you, and that's not what you say. And that's probably a good thing if your first thoughts are kind of like mine. But when you're trying to navigate those ambiguous or unfamiliar situations, like what do you do when you get feedback? What is that first thought you have? What is the first thought you should say? Because I know what the first thought might be. Don't say that one. But what do you do? Like you're applying for jobs. You've got a mentor. So you're 56% if you're a woman or 93% if you're a man, more likely to get that job. But you still have to get through the interview process and the recruiter gives you feedback. What does it mean? Right? We were looking for more specific transferable skills. What does that mean? What does that mean for your next interview? What does it sound like once you know what it means? You want to role play those scenarios. What is that follow-up question you should ask that recruiter? If your first thought isn't, I really appreciate that feedback. Could you give me an example of transferable skills that you have seen or heard that are more applicable for this job? That would be a question you could ask. But how do you know what to ask? You need to have a mentor. They get you ready to hear the comments that you might not want to hear. Those biased comments, those slip through things, those things where you cringe and you're like, oh, how do I push back in a meeting? How do I keep it demure? How do I respond? What do you say and what do you not say? That's what you're sorting through with a mentor. They also help you unpack disappointment, and you're going to face a lot of disappointment. Your recovery time is critical. How quickly do you bounce back from disappointment? Because when you are taking a long time to bounce back from disappointment, you're typically not pushing forward. I'm not saying don't be disappointed. I'm saying two things can be true at the same time. You can be disappointed and still push through. You can be disappointed and still be productive. You can be disappointed and still learn from the experience. That's the space we want you in. Because when you are disappointed, and maybe it's just me, y'all let me know in the chat if I'm here by myself, but I should all over myself. I should have said this. I should have said that. I should have done this. I don't know why I didn't think of that. And the should cycle in your head is on repeat. It's keeping you up at night. It's reminding you of all the ways that you didn't show up perfectly. It eats into your productivity. It eats into your peace of mind. And if you have a mentor, you can unpack that and stop that should cycle. Sometimes it just matters when someone says to you, you know what? You did the best you could at that time, in that space, in that scenario. You're all right. Let's get back up and keep going. And that's what a mentor can do for you. So who should be your mentor? Anyone have any thoughts on that? Because I do. I used to think my mentor should be someone like Michelle Obama, Oprah, Viola Davis. Those are my mentors. Yes, it should be someone you want to emulate. But let's get specific. It should be someone 2 levels above you. You want them to be about 2 levels above you. And whether that's in terms of how you rank their actual position within an organization, whether that's in terms of actual like leveling within your organization, you should feel not that they're 2 levels above you as a human being, but they're 2 levels above you in terms of their career pathing. Like, yeah, I think they're about 1 level above me. Yeah, they're doing better than me. But I mean, they're still within reach. Get somebody else. No, they're 2 levels above me. Like, I might be a little nervous to reach out. I might be a little bit like, wow, they're really doing something. I might be impressed enough that I just, sit up a little straighter when I talk to them. That's the person you want. Somebody who is good at what you are not good at. If you're really bad at interrupting, this is the person in the meeting that always lets people finish their statements and other people create room for their ideas and thoughts. How do they do that? You should be thinking, I don't know what just happened, but there was some magic that they did. That's who you want to be your mentor. So 2 levels above you and good at what you're not good at. There was a time I would have picked a mathematician, right? Because those statistic classes, okay. All right. You want someone that's done what you can't do because you haven't done it yet. Not because you can't ever do it, but you can't do it from the current seat you're in. They're doing something you want to do. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're doing something the exact same thing. I'm not saying like, hey, they can wear 3-inch heels. I want to wear 3-inch heels. They can walk into a room and everybody calls them by a nickname. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about they have ascended a height that you can't get to because you don't know the path. Someone that has the insights that you actually need. It's not necessarily the person that has the quickest retorts. It might be the person that knows how to succinctly share an opinion. It might be the person that has gotten into a product marketing manager role. It might be the person that has been able to start and found their own business. But it is that insight that you need, that's something you want to do that they have. So they're 2 levels above you. They're good at something you're not. And they've been somewhere or are somewhere you want to go. Sounds simple. How do you get them? What does it actually look like to get a mentor? This is one of my favorite sides because you need to be direct or get the connect. Right? So you're going to have a first meeting. So you're either going to have to directly reach out and ask them for that. And that is simple, short, and sweet. Hi, I saw you post. I heard you say. It would be great if we could connect for 15 minutes. I'd like to learn a little bit more about how you think, what you do, how you do it. That's it. It's really that simple. Or you can ask someone else to introduce you. And for a lot of people, that would be more comfortable. And for a lot of people that are first gens in tech, you don't know the person that knows the person. So going back to be direct, ask. If it's on LinkedIn, send them a message. If it's within your workplace, send them a message. If it's an email you came across, send them a message. You're not going to be able to get around the fact that you're going to have to send that message. I would advise not showing up at their house or camping out in front of their job. So we're talking about sending a message. So be direct. You're not asking them necessarily to be your mentor right off the bat. You're just asking for 15 minutes. I would not ask for a half hour. I'm willing to give you 15. I might not give you 30 as a first introduction. So everyone here is just taking a deep breath and they're like, by the end of next week, what's the date? Somebody put in the chat, the end of next week, what the date is, you're going to reach out and ask someone to be your mentor. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you hanging there. What do you do once you actually meet with them? September 20th, everyone, what do we got? 84 people by September 20th are going to send a message to say to someone, hey, could I please have 15 minutes of your time? I was really impressed with the way you did XYZ, and I'd like to discuss more. There's a deadline for you. Okay. In your first meeting, I need you to be prepared. You should be able to talk about your goals. They don't have to be detailed. They don't even necessarily have to be SMART goals yet. Like, I want to increase productivity within my department by 20% by the end of next year. No, you don't have to do that. I would like to become a better public speaker. I would also like to refine my executive communication. You could literally say that to them in the meeting. You should know one or two things you want to be better at, and that's the reason you're having this conversation. And since we're choosing mentors that are doing things we don't know how to do and are good at things we aren't good at, they should probably relate to that. So if your first message is, hey, I heard you speak at such and such. I really appreciated the way you talked about such and such. Such and such gets really confusing, doesn't it? Or is it just me? Anyways, I heard you talk about ABC. I'm very interested in learning more about ABC. You get to the first meeting. One of my goals is to develop ABC. That's better than such and such. There you go. That's what you're talking about. And then you want to feel what the chemistry is like. Like, do you like their energy? Do you like the way they talk? Do you think they get you? Do they have enough empathy? Are they, dare I say, woke enough? And by the way, every single product on the marketplace is woke. Every single product on the marketplace is designed to speak to a specific group, right? You got female deodorant, you got male deodorant. I don't know why there needs to be a difference, but apparently there does. That's a woke product. It's specific to women or men. So you want to know, is that person woke enough? Do they get it? Do they have enough empathy? Do they have enough understanding? Do they like you? Like, does it feel like they're connected with you? Do you think they'll fight for you? Do you think they'll tell you the truth? Do they tell you the truth a bit too directly? You're assessing the fit. And here's the deal. If it doesn't fit, I'm not going to go to the OJ trial, but if it doesn't fit, stop. Just say, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time, and stay connected to them. Just because it's not a fit, I want you to go to your calendar. So after September 20th, you set up that meeting, you have the meeting, it's not a fit. Go to your calendar, and 3 months from now, put a reminder on your calendar to reach out to them and say, hey, checking in to see how you're doing. Hey, I saw an interesting article. Hey, I heard such and such the other day. It made me think of you. I hope all is well. I'm currently working on XYZ. You are going to want to make them part of your connection, part of your network, part of your resource bank. If it is a fit, you're going to have to ask the hard question. You're going to have to say to them, hey, hello, I called this meeting. I did have an end purpose in mind, and I'm really looking for mentorship. And I was wondering if you might have a half hour a month to spend with me in a mentorship capacity. Here's the deal. The most flattering thing you can be asked is to be someone's mentor. You are giving them the gift of allowing them to remember critical things they've forgotten. As you teach and share with someone else, you are affirmed. Number one, it makes you feel good to help as a human being. Number two, you think through those lessons that you learned and you're reminded of them. And you're like, I could use that right now. I could use that right now. So you're asking them to do something that couldn't be more flattering. Like the second best question to this would be, I want to give you $1 million. What's your bank account number? Like it's literally up there like that. So you can do this with boldness. You can do this with confidence. That person wants to say yes. And if they can't say yes, and if they say no, no problem. If there's anyone else you know that's good at the goals I shared before, would you please reach out to me and let me know? I'm looking for mentorship. And then that person goes on your calendar, and 3 months later, you send them an email and says, I found a mentor. I'm so excited. I haven't found a mentor. Has time freed up in your schedule? Is there anyone else you thought of that might be a good match? I want to leave you with some parting thoughts before we go into a very extensive Q&A. So get ready. Your ambition is not open for everyone in your mind. Literally say that collectively as a group. Your ambition is not ever open for discussion. You are allowed to be as ambitious as you want. You are allowed to have goals as big as you want. And it is no one else's business. No one else's business what your level of ambition is. You do not need a cosigner to be ambitious. Not from your manager, not from your mom. I'm not going against moms. I'm a mom myself. But seriously, not from your friends. You don't have to share it with everyone. You can, but you don't have to. But your ambition is never open for discussion. It is only open for support. You do not need to be realistic. You can be driven by anything you want to be driven by. The second thing I want you to let you know is that belonging matters, and your presence improves company performance. It lowers turnover. It enhances well-being. You are, because you feel that you belong, going to increase your performance by 56%, and companies want that. There is a 50% lower turnover and 75% fewer sick days when you feel you belong. It is in your company's best interest to welcome you in. It is in your best interest to get a mentor that allows you to have a strong work-life balance, that allows you to feel that you belong, that allows you to be more productive and more strategic. I want you to remember that speech recognition systems do not work effectively. We just heard our keynote speaker say it. They don't recognize female or BIPOC voices as well. That's because we weren't in the room. You have a superpower in your difference, in your otherness, in your firstness. We see it again with airbags that are not as effective for women or smaller men because guess what? They only use male-sized crash test dummies. Why? We weren't in the room. We weren't in the room. So I want to leave you with your presence matters. Your ambition is yours, and mentorship directly increases the ability for you to get a job, navigate those difficult situations, chart the course for your career, and allow you to be more productive because you will experience more well-being, more work-life balance. So with that, Alyssa, come on, what questions do the people have?
Well, I just want to just take a moment and just process everything that you've shared. I want to hear from the audience how you guys feel about the information that Dr. B just shared. I think that you really gave us gem after gem after gem, great reminders. It was great also to have that deadline set so that you can effectively have time to plan what you want to do to get to that next step of finding a mentor if you don't have one. So Dr. B, you crushed that. I'm seeing some things come in the chat. Dr. Boykin for president. Listen.
No, Kamala. Kamala for president. I'm riding with her. This is my Kamala hair. You see it? Is it good?
Yes.
I'm trying.
It's getting presidential. It's getting.
Look, nonpartisan. I respect everyone's right to choose who they want. Right. But if you're going to pick a president, you may vote for her in lieu of me.
Right. This is definitely not a conversation about politics. Choose who you will. But with that said, I just want to throw out a few things that you just said towards at the end of this. Your presence matters. Yes. And I think, especially when we're talking to the population of first gens, that is such a good thing to remember because we are not the majority in the room, right? And sometimes we don't even have that support system in place that reminds us that our presence does matter and that we belong. So I'm glad that you mentioned that also. Your ambition is yours, right? And you have to chart your own path. You have to dictate what that looks like and I want to just say, be mindful and take advice with a grain of salt from the people around you. Always try to remember to center what you want to do back to your own thoughts and your own desire. So your ambition is yours. I love that so much. So now what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the Q&A. Please put all of your questions, in combination of the chat or in the Q&A, and we will get to as many as possible. But I'm going to go ahead and jump off with the first question that I see here, which is from Joshua. He asks, how do you combat the perspective that asking for mentorship from professionals burdens them with the responsibility? Oh, that's a good question.
It's a great question. Whose perspective is that? Because I'm a mentor and that's not my perspective.
Hey.
And I would also say, and I mean this in all seriousness, Joshua, like what other people think of you is none of your business. So if that's what that person is thinking, it's really not yours, right? It's really not your thought. It's not yours to manage. There will be people that feel that it is more of a burden. That's why you have that first 15-minute meeting. If it feels that way, don't do it. But really, that's a question for mentors. Like, how do you combat that? Because we have a responsibility to give back. Now, not everybody picks up their responsibility at the same time. And there are times in your career where you may not have the bandwidth to be a mentor. I can't think of any of those times, but there are, right? There's times when it's just you're not in the right headspace to do that. And that's okay. But I will say, and I will make a statement, anyone that has made it has a responsibility to give back. Full stop. Now, maybe not to you, but to someone else. So with that, what I would say is, don't be concerned about managing my calendar. Don't be concerned about assessing my workload. There's a lot of people I talk to and they're like, well, you were just so busy, I didn't want to put time on my calendar. I'm like, literally the reason that I book time on my calendar and I have free time is for you. And it always shocks me how many people are so concerned with managing my time above and beyond what I'm concerned about. Mm-hmm. Above and beyond, right? I know I've talked to, I'm going to pick on somebody. I'm going to call them out. I'll just use their first name, Anthony. I won't say they're in the chat or anything, but there's no one I want to give more time to, right? Alyssa, I want to give more time to you, so don't manage the mentor's calendar. Your job is to manage your career. And that includes finding a mentor. So ask anyway, and don't worry about their perspective. It's not yours.
I love that. Next question is from, I apologize if I don't pronounce this right, Vanya. They ask, can you have more than one mentor, one for each skill you like to work on? I can speak to that as well. You go ahead.
What do you want to say, Alyssa? Talk about it.
Okay, yeah. So absolutely. I am like a big advocate of kind of having like a starting 6. It doesn't have to be 6 mentors, y'all, but just like that's an example of like, I want to have people for different areas that I know that I need assistance with. And when it comes to mentors, I have mentors like V, but I also have a mentor that is within the recruitment org, which is my day-to-day job, right? So I think that depending on what all the areas are that you're trying to improve in, try to determine based off of your mentor skill set if they can help with all of those areas or if you need to get like a separate mentor for certain skills. So that's my thoughts on that. Your thoughts, V?
Yeah, you can have as many mentors as you can manage. If you're going to show up sloppy and unprepared to your meeting, if you're not going to follow through on the advice that the mentor gives you, you don't need that mentor. Mm-hmm. That's disrespectful. That's going to get you X'd out really quick. But if you can action feedback from multiple people, absolutely. Because what I'm good at is not what someone else is good at. So if you want to come and learn how to be more patient in a meeting, yeah, that's not me. You don't want me to be your mentor. So yeah, you're going to need a different one. You might need one that teaches you how to be patient because that's a skill they have, and somebody that teaches you how to be direct. I got you there. So yeah, and I'm going to keep it short because I see so many questions.
Yes. All right. Next question from Han. They ask, how do you fight against the feeling that you're bothering someone else when initiating a conversation request? I feel like we
that's great. No, great question. Feel that way and do it anyway. You're going to feel that way. It's okay to feel that way. I'm not going to tell you not to feel that way. I'm just going to tell you to take action anyway. And as a first gen in tech, you already know what it's like to not feel comfortable and do something anyway. So you already have that skill, huh? Just do it anyway.
Love that. Kaven asks, how do we find mentors outside the company we are interning at?
LinkedIn, and use your network. When you talk to someone and they're good at a skill, say, wow, you're really good at this. Who did you learn this from? Or who are the people that guided you along the way? A lot of it might be family members, but every now and then you're going to get the name of someone else. And then you're going to say, hey, could you make an introduction?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if they're opening to connect?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody on LinkedIn messaged me and said, I really want to get better at ABC, do you know anyone who's good at that? And I know I'm not good at that. I'll make the connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to believe I'm more similar than dissimilar than other people. So I'd expect other people to do it as well. So LinkedIn and any professional group that you're a part of.
Yeah, definitely don't sleep on the professional, groups and like Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff like that. That's great.
Absolutely.
All right, so next question. This is a really good one. Charlotte wants to learn more about navigating imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I have it. I have it all the time. I send my representative to do most of my things. Like me, the real me, I sit in bed with my iPad and I do puzzles. Real exciting stuff, y'all. I have to get drugged out of the house on the weekends to go and like eat dinner or something. I'm like, I'll just sit here all day long, making my mind work. You navigate it by doing the hard thing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You pretend because work me is very good at being gregarious, putting myself out there, saying the quiet part out loud. Private me is a little different. So it's okay to have a little bit of fracture in terms of your work and personal persona, right? Like I send my representative to do speaking events just like this, right? My representative isn't afraid to show up and have expertise.
Mm-hmm. This one is a very interesting question. How do you bounce back from having a mentor who threw you under the bus instead of supporting you?
It's going to be that same skill set that you've honed all of the years it took you to get to this point. Because we've all heard those comments, whether it's comments about our accent, comments about our appearance, the comments they make when they didn't notice we were in the room. You have that muscle. That wasn't a mentor. That was a misfire. So don't even think of them as a mentor anymore. Just think of them as a misfire. And typically, if you have someone that's thrown you under the bus, they probably weren't 2 levels above you. Because a mentor that's 2 levels above you really shouldn't be in the same space to be able to throw you under the bus. But if they have, one of the things you say is, thank you so much for your mentorship. I really feel like I've been able to grow with your support and I've appreciated your time so much, period. That's the biggest breakup you need to announce and then keep it moving. And how do you recover professionally? You just say, to your boss or to whoever let you know or whatever groups were impacted, hey, I'm really working on XYZ skill. And I found someone to help me with that. So I really look forward to your feedback over the coming years of how I've improved in this area, right? That's how you recover from it professionally. Lynn, what was the question? It flashed and it's gone. Look at her.
How do I provide value? Samuel asks, how do I provide value to a mentor outside of taking the value they give me? That is a great question.
Do you have ideas, Alyssa? Because you do it. You did it just this morning.
I feel like I push my mentor to the limit sometimes, y'all. But
no, not this one.
All seriousness though, how do you provide value to a mentor? You also check on them. You give them honest feedback because nobody is perfect. And so it's okay to say, I don't disagree or kind of have some back and forth conversation if you're trying to get to a solution. So also being transparent with them. Yes. Right? Because you never know what they're learning from you. It should be a mutual relationship as far as both parties getting something out of it. It shouldn't just be you taking from them. Granted, you might be learning more from them than they may learn from you, but it's important, again, to just be transparent, have conversations where they might not always be the smoothest, but you're just trying to get to a solution. That's my thought. What are your thoughts, babe?
And what you do really well, which I appreciate a lot, is look, mentorship takes ego. Y'all make us feel good.
Yes.
It's capable and it overcomes imposter syndrome. You want to overcome imposter syndrome? Let me amend my answer. Go help somebody else. Go help somebody else and you will that will definitely fortify you. But what I really love, I love it when my mentees post on LinkedIn that I've helped them with something, where they tag me into something. That means a lot, right? We're all trying to build our social presence. We're all building our brand. So I love a good LinkedIn post saying thank you. Boy, that is like money in the bank. Wire that money in. All right, cool. Next question.
That was great. I don't know how I forgot that. You definitely got to reassure people. They're reassuring you. Give it back.
You did it just this morning. You're like, Brenda is speaking. Dr. V is speaking. I was like, come on, girl.
They're investing time. That's the least we can do. Great question, though. Let me see. Sorry, I'm scrolling down here.
Just want to hear about when you're going into a new industry, does it look any different? And are there any additional insights for that scenario? So Alyssa, while you're picking the next question, I will answer this one. It does look different. It looks different because the transferable skills you're going to need to make it into that other industry may look different. So while if you're in a program manager role, you might want to be talking to somebody who's now a director of a PMO or project management office. If you're transitioning into healthcare, you might want somebody that can help you more with the technical side of things or the scientific side of things or learning the new terminology. So as you're looking to transition, that's a great way to ask and invite someone to be your mentor. I find that I'm really talented in these core areas, but I know as I transition into healthcare, tech, whatever it may be, or tech healthcare or healthcare tech anyway, as I transition into this area, thank you, Alyssa, I see your wheels turning. Save me. Yeah, I'm going to need more skills in this area. And I saw your talk, I read your article, I read your blog, I saw your post on this area, and I was hoping that we could connect for 15 minutes. And then that's when the cycle starts, right? You look to see if it's a fit, you share with them your goals. If it's a fit, you be direct. If it's not, you put them on your bench and you reach out to them in 3 months.
Love that. A participant asks, do you have any advice when articulating your goals in a way that is best for a mentor to help you with? I'm a law student who wants to break into tech law, but I struggle sometimes to articulate where I want to go in my career with a formal technical background to provide the terminology.
Yeah, I think reversing that question and saying, I am a law student and I want to break into tech, but I'm struggling to develop the technical background and use the correct terminology. Like a lot of the questions you're asking are the goals that you actually have. So if you write down what you don't know and reverse that, you typically have a pretty clear roadmap of where you're trying to go and what you're trying to do. And I hope that didn't sound like an oversimplified answer, but literally within that statement of a question is your goal.
And I want to add something. And as you're trying to go about accomplishing that goal, or just kind of trying to lay out what the goal is to work with a mentor, make sure that you're also doing research on your end as well to figure out, okay, what areas within tech law do I have the most interest in, so that they can then tell you if they have expertise in that or if they need to pull somebody else in as well to support.
Yeah, what are the first 3 things you want to have done? And if you don't know the first 3 steps you need to take, then you might not be looking actually for a mentor to help you with your technical expertise. You might be looking for a mentor that's really good on setting clear, crisp goals. What would that look like? That would look like somebody that has a very well-defined brand. It might look like somebody who has very clearly laid out LinkedIn posts. It may look like somebody that has a very clear self-promotion strategy, right? Like you can see it when you look through their job history that they've moved very strategically. So you might actually need someone a step before where you think you are.
That's good. The next question, Laura asks, how can we create a plan to achieve the goals that we share with our mentor? Should we develop a preliminary plan or expect them to guide us through the process? This is good.
It's a great question.
Yeah, it is.
In that first meeting, you're trying to figure out who that person is. Now, there's the way that person works and there's the way you work. I will never give you a plan. I will never give you a spelled out, well-defined plan. My mind does not work that way. If you want a plan, as we're talking, I would ask you to pull that together, because my job isn't to do more work. My job is to answer the questions that you're bringing to the table or provide guidance and insight on what I see. So how you develop what you will work on, I would say if you are a planner and you are someone that is detailed, you come into that mentorship meeting with a list of questions and you send a recap email and you clarify by saying, it sounds like the next actions I need to take are A, B, C. Now, there's definitely times I recently told one of my mentees, do not book another meeting with me until you have at least 5 interview questions with answers written out. You're wasting my time if you don't do that, because we're going over the same thing. I need you to, what are the top 5 questions you're asked? What do you think are top 5 answers? I'm going to ask you to deliver those answers the next time we meet. Now, the next time we meet, do not make it my responsibility to remind you that you're supposed to have those 5 questions.
Mm-hmm.
You come into that meeting with those 5 questions ready, with those answers ready, ready to present. So that would be an example of an informal plan. But it's your job to take the information, distill it down, and make it something you can action. That's not my job.
Great response. Let me ask, what should a relationship with the mentor look like? Should it be more professional with them, like talk to a boss, or friendly, like talk to friends or family?
Well, that depends on you. Alyssa, what should it be like? What's it like, Alyssa? What's it like when we meet?
Yeah, so I think that for me, okay, so everybody is different. It all depends on like your comfortability level and how open you are to being open and just yourself. Some people, they just prefer to keep it super professional. There's nothing wrong with that. And then there's other people that like to have a blend of professional and personal. I feel like that's me. Like I like to have a blend of that. Like my goal is to solve whatever problem that I have with my mentor, but also I'm trying to get to know that person at the same time. So that's just my way of going about it. But there's no like specific way. It just depends on what you're most comfortable with. Dr. V, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a blend. I think it's a lot of auntie energy. Like I'll probably say something to you like, you are totally off the chain and that is absolutely unrealistic. You are out of line. You better stop it.
Yes.
What that sounds like is go to your boss and say, I re-examine the situation, and after careful consideration, I'd like to revisit one of the statements I made because I think I have a fresh perspective. So it's going to be a blend. I'm going to give you the real, and then I'm going to give you how to communicate that.
Yes, she is.
And you can ask your mentor, like, hey, how do you approach situations? But that's what you're trying to figure out in that first meeting. You want to know how do they approach things. And I'm very upfront. Look, if you want to have mentorship sessions with me, I'm going to be very direct. That's who I am. If that's not what you're about, this probably won't be the best. Let me see who else I can find for you.
And that's why it's so important to have an introduction conversation so that you can figure out if your personality and that personality will mesh well. Because if you're not the type of person, for example, to do well with a lot of directness, that may not be the best mentor for you. Yeah, so that's a great question. Let's go on to the next one. Let's see. Zach asks, what advice do you have to mentees making the most out of a mentorship between meetings? I've been personally challenged in the past, not feeling like I could commit to enough between conversations and would waste the mentor's time.
Okay. I mean, do you need a mentor right now? And you control how often you meet. So I have zero care about whether we're meeting once a week, twice a week, once every 2 weeks, once a quarter, twice a year. I'm here when you need me. Mm-hmm. So if you can't commit enough time, don't book another meeting. Just let it stay, let it pause, let it breathe. But when you come back to the table, come back prepared. But I do not have an expectation. I have mentees that I hear from when they need something, and that is okay. We are not dating. Like, you don't have to buy me dinner and send me flowers and send gifts and love notes. Like, I'm here when you need me. That is my role. Some look, mentors are human beings. Some people need more care and attention. I don't.
Yeah.
I need you to be successful, and that's it. Point blank. That's the end. So if you can't perform, push out the meeting, and simply don't waste your time.
The next question is how to spot the known queen bee syndrome from a mentor, which is when women in higher position pull the corporate ladder instead of helping women climb it easier than before, and how to deal with the same.
I love this question. First thing, this is a myth. Mm-hmm. And if it's not a myth, I'm going to talk about it like it's a myth. Because if this question said, how do you spot the person who pulls the corporate ladder? I will no longer be part of contributing to a narrative that women can't work together. That's scientifically not true. I will no longer be part of the conversations that tear women out like that, because men do it too, and thems do it as well. Like we're talking about a concept. It's not specific to women. So that's the first thing I will say. I have committed to not talking about women leaders, about anything other than their professional skill set or strategy as an assessment. I won't do it. Mm-hmm. I will say there are definitely groups that still have challenges when showing up to truly support those from marginalized communities, also known as the global majority. Now that I will say is true. That is not related to sex or sexual identification. And I can't state that enough. Although I feel you, and you should be able to ask. I'm not upset you asked the question. I'm just providing strong redirection of the question. So what do? You don't choose them as mentors. When you find that they're your mentor, you make that same statement we talked about earlier. Thank you so much for working with me on XYZ skill. I feel like I've really progressed in this area, period. That's it. That's your breakup. Just keep moving forward. What is critical is that you find someone that works with you and that supports you, and you simply sidestep, avoid, redirect, and refocus those other people away from you. Whatever anyone else is thinking about you is none of your business, and that's the world you need to operate.
None of your business.
It's in my book, Fix Your Face and Watch Your Tone. Women know it's needed, and they do.
And they do.
There's also a section about men. There's a separate but equal section in the back of the book.
We love you, men. I love it.
And those that identify as men. All right.
Caitlin asks, what is the best way to receive a mentor to help you in your current internship placement? I can kick this off. First things first, if you don't know if your company gives you a mentor, first start by asking your manager if there is someone on your team or within the department that could potentially be a mentor, right? I'll just plug HubSpot for a second. We pair all of our interns and co-ops with a mentor. Also, when I came in as a full-time employee, I also had a work mentor outside of the mentorship programs that our company offers. But that would be the first thing to see if there's anybody that your manager would recommend that could be a mentor for you. Because it would be ideal, right, to have a mentor that works in your department, like if not on your team. So that would be my recommendation. Any additional thoughts, Dr. V?
No, none. Well said.
Yep. All right. I think that's majority of questions. I see one other one. Claudia asks, I'm a business consultant looking to break into tech. Are there any roles you recommend I look at specifically and where I should seek a mentor, business consultant?
Oh, I have big thoughts on this. If you want to get into tech, if you want to break into any industry, the easiest way to do it is through sales. I know not all of us want to be salespeople, but literally, sales is an entry-level position for most companies. There's some entry-level, and it has pretty high turnover. So you have a better shot of getting into that. You have an easier shot of becoming an entry-level sales position than entry-level product, anything, from what I've seen. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alyssa, but sales is a great way to get into the door. And I mentor and have been mentoring for years with a program called Rework. There's also Braven. It literally positions people to have them have successful careers in tech sales. If you don't want to go the sales route, Alyssa, I'll let you take it from there.
If you don't want to go the sales route because your girl was not doing sales,
it's a grind.
You want to do something that aligns with you, right? So I'll be transparent. Coming into tech at this company, this wasn't, as a recruiter, that wasn't my first position that I had applied to. I had applied to a customer success manager position because I felt like those skills aligned. And it has like a kind of like a salesy component to it, in my personal opinion. And it didn't work out, right? But I didn't give up. I continued to think about roles that align with my skills and what I wanted to do. And then the opportunity had opened, right, to become a recruiter. And so I came in as an associate level recruiter, so entry level, and, just continue to grow within my position. So I think it's important to think about what skills you have that are transferable, that will really set you up for success to where you will be aligned to be able to do the work effectively. And it's work that you actually want to do. I think that adding to what you said about sales is a great way to get into tech. You're always going to need folks in sales. That's how the business continues to run. Right. Yes. So if you have that grit, and you really are interested in doing something like that, then I definitely recommend it. And it's incredibly lucrative. I don't want to leave that out.
Yeah, you can make money.
Yeah, you definitely make money. So that's kind of my thoughts. Did you want to add anything to that?
I will say it also, the foundational, I learned how to sell formally when I was employed by a company called Groupon. And I have taken that strong foundation of sales and it is infused into everything. Like I will give you an A/B close to decide where to go to dinner. Do you want Italian or seafood? Because I don't prefer to have Mexican tonight, right? So there's skills that are transferable. And I encourage everyone to really ignore the notion of whether you're taking a step back or not when you're making a career change. You're just taking a step, period. You're just taking a step. If you think of the world as being the globe that it is there ever a step back if it's a step around the circle? I need to write that down. That sounded smart.
That's good.
Okay, this is a good section. We're getting into it. We only have 6 minutes left, but
we have another question, and I really like this question. Charlotte asks, should your mentor also be your sponsor, or should they be different people?
Well, they're different functions, and this is a great question, Charlotte. Thank you so much for asking this. A sponsor is that person that is in the room when you are not there, that is advocating for you. They need to have real power and real influence. When I'm looking for a sponsor, I want someone 3 levels above. I want somebody literally in those seats where I am not there. It is an additional benefit if your manager is also thinking of sponsoring you and is advocating for you. But a sponsor literally is somebody that is very removed from you and very close to strategy when they're best positioned. So that VP level, that's who I want as a sponsor, please, right? So they're not the same people. They have different functions. The mentor is there to grow and develop you. Your sponsor is there to advocate when you're not in the room. That's somebody that understands your talent, skills, and ability and is willing to speak on them when you are not around. The person's going to say, I know somebody that can do that. I think they should be promoted, and is willing to expend their social capital and attach it to you, which means you are trying to impress that sponsor. You're trying to demonstrate to them what you can do. You're trying to inform your mentor. You're trying to show them what you can't do so that you can get better at it. So 2 different functions there. One person, you're showing all that you can do. The other person, you're letting them see what you can't do so you can develop it. And I hope that helps, Charlotte.
What I have a follow-up to Charlotte's question. How would you say it would be best to initiate engagement with somebody at that level? You know, somebody that is incredibly busy, it may not know you very well. Like, how would you go about that initial engagement with that person?
I always think it's a great time to introduce yourself before you need a person. So when that person is hired, welcome to the team. When that person gets promoted, congratulations. When that person has a business unit that is successful, I saw your org was doing this and I thought it was really interesting. Just wanted you to know, I think it's great, right? You want to have those very short. If they are listed in your Slack channel or Teams channel, that means you can reach out to them. Reach out to them with something like that. So that's what I would say. The second thing is you can then share with them, hey, I recently did such and such. Not sure if you saw it, but I'm really proud of it and wanted to share. And then you might ask them for that same 15-minute meeting. We're all busy.
This will probably be the final question.
Okay, drum roll.
How do you balance giving guidance while allowing mentees to make their own decisions and mistakes?
Okay, this is what I talk to my mentor about. I'm not good at it. And Alyssa will tell you, I'm like, no, stop, please don't. Red flash.
If I do something, listen, y'all, if I do something and I talk to this woman and it was really drastic or, emotionally charged, which, no. Aaron mentioned earlier, be careful when you get on that keyboard. All right. Think before you type and press send. Cannot say this enough. But yes, V is she's always so, caring with me, and she'll say like, hey, maybe next time before you do that, because of the situation, if it's really sensitive, let's have a conversation first. And she's not telling me to not do it, but she just wants to have a conversation with me especially if it's something like really sensitive, like a sensitive topic that can emotionally get you riled up. She wants to have that conversation in advance. So I think that she does a good job at letting me make my own decision, but she also gives me things to consider and think about as I'm making my decision. And I think that's really important because as a person, you should be making your own executive decision. And I think a mentor comes into play where they kind of give you different perspectives. They give you their hopefully honest thoughts and keep it real with you. And then you decide what you're going to do with that. But I'll turn it over to V to add anything additional.
I mean, it's tough. I always say I would do this, or I suggest you do that. I mean, you can't control what someone does. I'm not making the decision because I literally can't send the email from your email address. Although, and that's a good thing because I probably would try to, or send it from your side because I care so deeply. I think for me, it's really finding that my overall guiding principle when everything shakes down at the end of the day, and this is for within my home, with my children, with my relationships, everyone is entitled to their own success, comma, space, and their own failures and the consequences associated with both. And I fundamentally believe that. I have made tragic mistakes and I had a right to those mistakes. And I've had phenomenal success and I have a right to that success. And fundamentally, that is how I guide and try to guide when I'm being my best self, my interactions. So whatever you are experiencing, you not only deserve it, but you have a right to it. And I don't want to interfere with anyone's right to exist and learn and be fully human. And that means successes and failures.
I love that so much. Before we close out, Dr. V, I just want to give you a moment to say anything, any final words.
You know my final words. I am officially in my book era. So fix your face, watch your tone. Women know what's needed. It's an easy, light read. I've been told by people that do not have English as their first language that it is still an accessible read for them. I think that's the biggest compliment that I have been given about the book so far. So drvboykin.com, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm here to help, and I truly mean that. If you message me, I will respond. Please don't give me paragraphs to read. Hone that message in, get it real nice and tight, and then send it my way.
I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. V. Thank you, everyone, for joining into this conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I just kind of shamelessly plugged because I don't care. This is my mentor. I love her so much. I'm going to hype her up. If you're interested, no pressure at all to get the book, but just check it out. It's on Amazon. It's on her website, like she said. Dr. V, thank you so much again. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, y'all. And I wish you success. You are important and you belong.
Your presence matters.
It does. It does. Dollars and cents matters.
Your ambition is yours.
That's right. Not open for discussion.
That's it.
Alyssa, what are we working on next for mentorship? You'll put your business in the street.
I don't know. I need to really sit and think about it. I'm being a bad mentee.
You're not. You're never a bad mentee. It's impossible. You can't be. You can't be.
Still working on my time management, but we're going to get there.
As soon as I get the time to do the time management, my time will be managed.
Yep. That's it.
I feel you. I feel you. We can all use some more time.
Oh, I'm looking at the chat. I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it.
I know. There's so much appreciation.
There is.
So good, right? It feels so good. Podcast. They said they want a podcast. Let's bring our mics.
Oh my goodness.
Can you imagine?
Wait. Where's my little mic?
I'm gonna get podcasty. Here it goes. I'm now podcasty. There it goes. And I'll use my podcast voice.
My check. You get Dr. V on a podcast. Listen, you're in for
that would be. Look, it's not the size of the mic that matters. Somebody made it. Right. Our podcast would be called Pitfalls and Podcasts.
Oh my goodness. Oh man.
What will we discuss? What would our first topic be if we had a podcast? If they don't shut this room down, we're going to get in trouble. Let's see. Our first
surviving in corporate America as a Black woman.
Oh, working while Black? Is that what you said?
Yes. Working by
BIPOC.
Like it.
Women in the workplace. It's not hard.
Like definitely. Might as well go on and just record the first.
There we go. We're recording. We're recording right now.
In tech. Honestly, that would be lit.
It would be.
If we were like live on social media doing First Gens in Tech and doing like a little segment like in between. That would be next year ideas.
Somebody put it in the survey.
Yeah.
We want a recap. We want a podcast style recap of the First Gens in Tech sessions in between sessions. Alyssa and Dr. V.
Yes, if y'all want to see live sessions, definitely Podcast, definitely. That, because seriously, that could be done.
They're going to cut our feed. They're going to cut our feed now.
They are. I love it. We still have a whole bunch of people in here.
I know, because they're waiting for episode 1. They want to be part of it. Like, they feel that this could be a thing. Okay, let's see. The most tragic, but still non-triggering event being a woman in the workplace.
Being a woman in the, non-triggering.
Non-triggering. So something like they didn't have straws and my lipstick smudged. I no longer wear red lipstick. I tell you what, that's not what we're going to talk about.
The first thing I was thinking about, honestly, was like appearance in meetings. Like, well, at least for me, I constantly think about like how I appear in meetings, because I want to be respected.
Yeah.
It's not even necessarily, it's nothing to do with color. It's just about like being a woman. So like, you know, because again, you know, just corporate America, you know, I just want to appear.
Don't say it. You want to appear corporate? Are you talking about Caucasian or corporate? What do you mean?
No, not corporate, but just like together.
Together. Okay, well put together. Okay, that makes sense. Now that makes sense. Okay, now here's a question. How is it equitable that women spend so much time on their appearance, but men are not spending a commensurate amount of time, which means they're strategizing. So if they're strategizing and we're accessorizing, that means number one, it's not equitable. And then number two, that would mean companies aren't getting the same amount of productivity out of each group.
They're not.
Which means companies now have a vested interest in normalizing a standardized appearance, or at least time to get ready for meetings and things like that. So we actually have an ally in this, in the corporation, right? Yep. So there's a thought there. I actually only wore my natural hair to work for the first time. I'm 50 years old, y'all, like 2 years ago at HubSpot. My natural hair showed up. True story. That's a long time. And I don't mean like the silk press version. I mean natural. Right. 4C hair.
4C.
I have 4C hair. This is a true thing. 4C. If y'all don't know, you can Google it.
I would have never known that.
Okay, I want to say thank you, but let me redefine myself. I'm not going to say thank you. How can a Black man in the corporate place be presentable? You can't. Good. No, that's not true. I take that back. It takes a different skill set. Look, this is why I'm going to be canceled.
This is good. This is good.
Different skill set. One of the things that I see with my spouse, who is a very dark complected Black man, is he definitely goes above and beyond to be, and it's part of who he is, which is a nice fit. But hey, how you doing? Like, he makes sure he says it's first. If he's pulling up to the gas station, he's saying it first. Like, he has a lot of thoughts and energy that is expended in making not the majority, which is not necessarily to on a global level, feel comfortable with his presence. He spends a lot of energy on that. And I think that it definitely shapes who he is and how he walks through the world. That being said, I'm not an expert on being a Black man. So I'm not going to start to tell y'all how to do your business. But light, I think, definitely matters. Tone, don't fix your tone, but watch it, matters. The word choice you use matters. But I think that, you know, it really comes down to addressing the bias.
Yeah.
Prevalent, right?
Absolutely.
And how do you deal with being the only one in the room? We are so off topic.
We are
still in this room. Boy, y'all, I'll tell you what. Any other questions?
I see a statement. As a man of color, I think about my appearance in meetings too. It's a very real thing.
It's real.
You know, and I would love to hear from somebody that is a different race, just out of curiosity, because I really don't know. You know, I just know, about how I feel. I definitely would say that's a big challenge. I remember when I was first growing my locks and I was working within the law.
Hold on, Alyssa. Let me just make a distinction right here. She said locks, not dreadlocks. There's nothing dreadful about that. So there's just a little point of information right there. Okay.
Nothing dreadful. You're the best. But I remember how I felt, right? Because I was working within a law space, and my colleagues were predominantly white. Everybody wasn't white, but predominantly white. And I was young, here I am like a
Mm-hmm.
young 23-year-old, just trying to get my feet wet in the space. But I remember how I felt when I was first growing my hair. I felt so insecure, like it's just so uncomfortable in the space because of what I just experienced throughout my life, like as a person of color, and how I've heard time and time again that my hair is not
professional,
right?
appropriate,
Yep. And
refined, business-like. Yeah.
It's a very real thing. Like, but you see, I still got my hair.
I do see that.
And I just kept going because I was like, this is me. Like, this is me. This is my hair. I'm gonna do what I want with it. And I really don't care. Like, I really don't care.
Y'all's generation has it together for that. Because in my time, like it was every 4 weeks, I was hitting that creamy crack. Like every 4 weeks.
Yes.
Every 4 weeks. I couldn't let it. And I think that there's a lot to be said because there was a time, actually, all of my hair fell out because I went to the wrong hairdresser and they tried to put in highlights over a perm and they didn't know that doesn't get down with 4C hair. And so I was bald, literally bald, like Sinead O'Connor bald. And it was really tough. But there was something very freeing about it because I got back minimum 20 minutes every time I was going to step out the door because I didn't have to worry about if my hair was done. Right? I'm not sitting here doing this like, oh, it looks stringy. Oh, it looks like this. Oh, I need a brush. I need a comb. And the amount of focus I could then have on things that were more important, like strategy, like planning, right? Like tactics, was pretty remarkable. Now, I grew my hair back out. I did. But there's something very powerful about women being able to disconnect from their hair, from their makeup, from their clothing. You can be clean and clothed and not preoccupied. I'm not saying I have that as a solution.
Right.
I have my 15, 20-minute routine every morning. But that is something that makes it not equitable. And when things aren't equitable, well, that means somebody's not being as productive, and that means somebody doesn't feel as much belonging. That means people are, more likely to attrit. So, anyways, we are going to close out this room.
Yes, we are.
HubSpot sends a representative to cut my money.
It's been so good. Listen, it's over 70 people. They still stuck around with us. Like,
it's a podcast. We're going to discuss it, y'all. We're going to discuss it.
Like Zoom room during the networking session because, like,
real
that's
talk.
what we need. Like, we need one. Stay. Oh, I love that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for showing up. Your presence matters. If there's anything, and I know I can speak for Alyssa on this, is there anything we can do for you? Please don't hesitate to reach out. And we appreciate y'all. You should feel seen because you are seen.
That's it. Thank y'all. Enjoy the rest of First Gens in Tech.
Yes. Let's get back to it.
Not over. All right. Bye.